Hi, I'm Rick Newcombe, and I have been a bodybuilder my whole life, ever since I was 12 years old. There were some periods where I didn't train very hard, or I did more sports when I was in school, but then later as an adult I became somebody who just became addicted to lifting weights, and now I'm almost 70. And one of the ways people say to me, how have you managed to get yourself to the gym at least 6 hours every week for 30 or 40 years? And one of the techniques that I've used is to use photographs. And I want to talk about that just a little bit in hopes that it might be helpful to you. If you look at the bodybuilding magazines today, I'm sorry, but the drugs and chemicals and whether it's steroids or human growth hormone or insulin or things like equipoise or whatever it is, this stuff is not healthy. And the whole point of lifting weights is to have good health. So I found a technique that I want to share with you, which is thanks to eBay, you can buy old bodybuilding magazines from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, before these drugs totally took the sport over. And what I've done is, when I was really in peak condition 30 or 40 years ago, I had a lot of pictures taken, and I would recommend that. If you want to make progress as a bodybuilder, have pictures taken and set definite deadlines for getting into shape and tanning and looking really good, dieting. And then have your pictures taken, and then a year later do it again, or 6 months later, whatever. And so as I go through these old bodybuilding magazines now, 30 or 40 years later, I find pictures of myself and then comparable pictures from the old days, and I put them side by side, and I keep them now in my garage gym, and it's very motivating. It shows a goal accomplished, and there's nothing more important than achieving small victories on the way to reaching your goals. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you. It all started in 1962 when I was only 12 years old. I was a little boy, and I saw a Strength and Health magazine with a Frenchman on the cover. His name is Guy Mirzuk, and he was Mr. France, and he competed in the Mr. Universe. And as a 12-year-old boy, I said, wow, someday I'm going to have muscles as big as that guy. Now, it took me a long time, and there were a few detours along the way, but I did make it. And so then I had a picture taken when I was in peak condition and put it side by side with Guy Mirzuk. And that's what you see here. That's I say Guy because Arnold Schwarzenegger called him Guy Mirzuk. He may have called him Guy. Anyways, Guy, Mirzuk. And he owned a gym in Monaco for many years. I did talk to him as an adult. I told him, man, you were my inspiration. So that was a good thing. And so that's a picture of Guy Mirzuk in 1962 and Rick Newcombe a number of years later, reaching my goal. I did all kinds of before and after pictures. So on the left you see pictures of me when I was maybe 14 years old as an aspiring bodybuilder. And then a number of years later, I stood in the same poses and had those pictures. Actually, the pictures are a little bit grainy because it was the one time I competed in the AAU Mr. Los Angeles contest. I came in third place that year, and the only year. And so this is from a video that they sent me from posing. That's why the pictures are a little bit grainy. Here's another one, again, before and after, pictures taken when I was a teenager just starting out, and then after reaching some of my goals. The other day, I was sitting in my home gym pedaling on a bicycle, a stationary bicycle, and I was looking through an old Strength and Health magazine, and I saw this fellow who had been Mr. America, and I saw his bicep pose, single bicep pose, and then I looked up on the wall and saw my own, and I thought, oh, this would be good as a before and not before and after, but just a comparative shot. And I found that very inspiring. This is one of my all-time favorites because John Grimek was my hero. John Grimek was an Olympic weightlifter in the 1930s. He competed in the Mr. America contest, won Mr. America, and then they had to pass a rule saying that you could only win once, because he would have won every year in a row for 20 years. He was the most gifted bodybuilder. He was the founding managing editor of Muscular Development magazine. He worked very closely with Bob Hoffman for many years. I met him as a kid, and he couldn't have been nicer to me. He was very supportive of all kinds of bodybuilding. And so I had this picture of myself, and I saw this picture of Grimek in the magazine. I thought, wow, we look pretty good, you know. Now, in reality, he had a much better build than I ever did. But it's nice to put these pictures together. It's the same thing that when I competed, I did this Frank Zane kind of pose where you put your arms behind your head, suck in your stomach. And I saw this, I think he's a French-Canadian bodybuilder from the 50s maybe. I can't remember his name, but I cut out the picture and put the two side by side. Another picture, my wife and I a couple of years ago went to the York Barbell Museum Hall of Fame, or whatever it is, Bodybuilding and Weightlifting Hall of Fame. And I stood next to Eugene Sandow, and she took my picture. Got a kick out of that. I keep that one in my office. This was a picture of me, my back, and I compared it with Bill Perot. Now, there's no way that I could compare with Bill Perot. Bill Perot was another one of my heroes, just a fantastic early bodybuilder. We did correspond several times. I just think the world of him. He was a role model for me for many years. And then finally, a picture I put in my office, which shows me at age 14, and then at age 60. It's not exactly before and after, but it shows with consistent training. So this is my suggestion: is take a lot of pictures now, go on eBay, buy the old muscle magazines, find poses that are similar to yours, where you measure up, you at least are as good as, or almost as good as, the pictures, and then cut them together like I did, and just put them on inexpensive frames and put them up on your wall in your home gym, or in your bedroom, or in your office, or wherever. I hope you find this tip helpful. It's unusual. Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's talked about it. My friend Rick Drayson, who does Rick's Corner on YouTube, which is fantastic, came up with a brilliant analysis when he said, if you look at the silhouettes of all these old bodybuilders, whether it's John Grimek or Steve Stanko, or then Arnold Schwarzenegger or Franco Colombo, Sergio Oliva, Frank Zane, and you look at their silhouette, you can tell immediately who was who. But if you look at the Mr. Olympia competitors today and look at their silhouette, they all look kind of square. They look the same. I mean, they have huge muscles, but it's obviously chemically induced, and to me, it's not attractive. So that's why I recommend going on eBay and finding the old bodybuilding magazines and then making it work for you. It's just a tip. It's worked for me, and I wanted to share it. Thanks for listening.